What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video, and we are here for Shooting the Breeze number 8. The last time that I did a Shooting the Breeze, the 2023 NBA Finals had not even started yet. But now, on episode 8, we have fast forwarded, and the finals have ended, and the Denver Nuggets won the whole thing, and they are the 2023 NBA champions. And I have the Denver Nuggets hat on to commemorate that occasion. So this episode is mainly going to be me congratulating the Denver Nuggets while also talking about a couple of other topics. This is the last time we talked, and I will be honest with you. I'm going to start doing this now. I should be writing down like things that if I don't want to make a full video on, that whenever I do Shooting the Breeze, I could talk about it whenever I do the Shooting the Breeze. Because I'll be honest with you, I feel like a lot has happened, and I just haven't talked about it. Now, the main things off the bat that I know have happened. People constantly talk about Ja Morant being suspended, even though the announcement's not coming until after the finals, which, hey, it's after the finals. Where's that announcement? Zion Williamson announcing that he will be a father, and that it apparently caused a big stir-up on Twitter, which, you know me, I don't dwell into personal lives of other people. That ain't my job. I talk about NBA-related stuff, so I'm definitely not talking about that at all. And we got some head coaching hires, which I don't really know how to judge or really even talk about that, just because I don't really know what classifies a good head coaching hire. And just sometimes a lot of the head coaches that get hired either come out of nowhere or are very experienced. Also, like, backtracking on, like, talk about a good head coach. So, for example, in my opinion, I think Monty Williams is a great head coach. But guess what? He just got fired, and he almost immediately got hired. So it's just, I feel, talk about head coaches, we need to see them with their team and what they actually bring to the table once the team is together. So, that being said, of head coaching hires, congrats to Darko Rajakovic, who is an assistant coach of my Memphis Grizzlies, who is now going to be the Toronto Raptors head coach. I did want to wrap that up with saying that. And then the last thing that I could think of off the top of my head, since the last time we talked, was about Chris Paul. But again, before we dwell into that, let's talk about these NBA Finals. It definitely sucks because a lot of these NBA Finals, like, we pay attention to the games. We paid attention to the games that happened. We appreciated the games. Some of us appreciated the games that happened. And again, this is just me. A combination of me being lazy and not wanting to waste my own time, because obviously I could have made a video after every game, but I feel that a lot of people do that. And I was very much waiting for an interesting point to happen for me to make the video. Game 1 is game 1. I could have overreacted to that right away, say the Nuggets are going to blow the Heat out of the water. And I probably would have looked like a smart person. But guess what? Game 2 happened, and the Heat showed some fight. They won a game at Denver, which no one in the playoffs had done at that point. Game 3 and Game 4 happened, and the Nuggets are like, yeah, we not wasting no time. Now, Game 5, which will be the main thing that I will talk about, because the most recent game is the one that makes most sense, and it was the best game out of the series. And I like comparing everything to wrestling, because I feel that is the thing that I know the most, is pro wrestling. I would say that. And the NBA Finals obviously are like WrestleMania, the biggest stage, the stage that you celebrate at the end of it. And the Nuggets and Heat is a great matchup. It's not a great matchup for WrestleMania. I didn't want to get that comparison out, but backing up, talking about Game 5, and I was saying that I wanted to compare it to wrestling. I can't. I'm going to compare it to MMA, because it's very sloppy. In wrestling, a lot of the stuff is planned, and while it's an exciting thing, it is planned. MMA, you are going out there to beat the hell out of your opponent. There are rules, which the referees tonight, they were just making up the rules as they were going, in my opinion. The refereeing tonight was atrocious. But because mainly, my basis of refereeing is if something happens on one side of the court and it happens on the other side and you don't treat it the same, that's just bad refereeing. And again, it's very hard to be perfect, but at least you could do okay. And I just felt that some of it wasn't. And just at the end of the day, the refereeing didn't matter because it came to who was the better ball club, which, spoiler alert, the Denver Nuggets were. But I compared tonight's game to an MMA fight. There's some beating up. There was some very aggressive actions. I remember specifically where Bam and Jokic were trying to get a rebound, and they were tussling back and forth, trying to get to the other side. And then there were some mistakes that led to the losing happening. Jimmy Butler turned the ball over to KCP, etc. So, long story short, get to the Denver Nuggets. Congratulations. I am a very bitter person, so my team never winning the championship. When the finals happen and I'm seeing everybody celebrating, I can't fake a smile. I'm not going to fake a smile. I can appreciate it and not say bad words because, like I said, I like the Denver Nuggets. If I didn't like the Denver Nuggets, I wouldn't have this freaking hat on right now. But, like, for example, the Warriors won last year. I was pissed. I was sitting mad and just aggressive. Where this year, I was like, they deserve it. I would imagine I like everybody on. I don't think I have a problem with anybody on this team. Nikola Jokic is one of my favorite players. I even have a Jokic jersey. I could have wore it in this video, but I feel that would have been a little bit over the top. I like Nikola Jokic a lot. Jamal Murray, after everything that he overcame, and I did not even expect him to be the same player this season just because we had not seen him this long. And he essentially was. It's just very rare that we see someone coming off a serious injury and a long time off come back and be as good, and because maybe it's a bit of recency bias, even a little bit better. Aaron Gordon, someone who I'm not going to say has been crapped on his whole career, but definitely he's been compared. When you say Aaron Gordon, now you're going to talk about the defensive guy that helped the Denver Nuggets win the championship. Where beforehand, you're going to say the guy that got screwed out of 2 slam dunk competitions. I'm glad that he has overshadowed that and played a contributing role on a championship team because he is good. Michael Porter Jr., I can say the same thing that you said about Jamal Murray, where he did not play last year that much, and when he did, he just wasn't good because he was dealing with injury, and he's dealt with injuries his whole career, but when he is out there, he is a baller. I'm kind of glad the series is done because, first of all, he went 7 of 17 tonight. And if you were to ask me, if that was true, if I did not know that already because I saw the stat, I wouldn't believe you. I'm very glad the series is done because he was missing a lot. But when it mattered most, he turned it up. He was 7 of 17. He had a lot of rebounds. He was doing the little stuff, which is something that the whole Denver Nuggets team did. They all do the little stuff that matters in the end. Guess what? They're the champions. And then KCP, the last guy in the starting lineup, who I will admit, the good thing about making videos now, I can say stuff, and then a year from now, it matters. So once the offseason happens, and we see some trades and free agent signings, I could say that's a great free agent signing. It's going to matter in the long run. So I'm going to smack myself on the wrist a little bit because I'm going to give myself a compliment, and then I'm also dissing myself. So the diss comes when they traded for KCP. I thought the Wizards won the deal. So the trade was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Ish Smith for Will Barton and Monte Morris because the Wizards needed a starting point guard. And Will Barton, who had been playing for the Nuggets for the longest time, I thought the main reason I thought the Wizards won the deal is because they got the starting point guard that they needed. Monte Morris, you could debate if he was a starting point guard or not, but he definitely got the opportunity to prove that in Washington. I thought that the Wizards are getting 2 guys that are actually going to play for them and actually they need because they needed Monte Morris. Where with the Nuggets, KCP had a quiet season with the Wizards, where now he came to the Nuggets, a guy that the Nuggets wanted for a long time. They finally got him on this team. They fit really well, and again, in these playoffs and in the finals in particular, he was doing the little stuff that mattered the most. Even tonight, I'm basing everything off of Game 5. There is when Jimmy Butler is running down for the fast break, he is there with Jimmy Butler neck and neck and tips the ball out of bounds to stop him from scoring. Where not a lot of guys are capable of doing that or more likely willing to do that. And also, he was on the Lakers. He was on that Lakers championship team. And the main reason I don't like Laker fans is because they're just very fake and very angry towards their players. I don't see this with many other teams, maybe the Celtics, but I see it particularly with Laker fans, and they just gave KCP hell during his time there. Where now he is producing and providing a lot, and he's being appreciated. So I'm giving a congratulations to KCP in particular because I just wanted to. Now, again, how I'm saying that my opinion on that trade was bad, like, because obviously the Nuggets, when we talk about trades, there are winners and losers. Very rarely are there both winners. So in this case, I thought the Wizards were winners. They weren't. The Nuggets are obviously winners because they won the freaking title. That being said, though, I did think the Bruce Brown signing, I try to combine it all in one word, the Bruce Brown signing, I thought was the most underrated and probably best free agent signing because he did so well for Brooklyn last year, and even in the playoffs, this might be a very crazy oversight. I was like, he was their best players in that Celtics series. Now, it didn't really matter because they got swept, and it didn't matter in the long run, but I was shocked as hell that he didn't go back to Brooklyn, and that he was so easy to get for the Nuggets, and look at him now. He's probably going to not be on the Nuggets next year, and be in a bigger position now. And like I said, I can go up and down with this team. DeAndre Jordan, congratulations. Ish Smith, congratulations. Thomas Bryant, congratulations. The last person in particular I want to single out and congratulate is Jeff Green, one of my favorite players. I always love watching Jeff Green play. He's played on a lot of teams. I remember particularly, because I'm a Westbrook fan, when he joined Houston in the 2019-20 season. I really enjoyed watching him play. And he's been in the league a long time. He's been on a lot of teams, and to see him finally win a championship is well deserved. So, and congrats to Michael Malone, who is a great head coach. And he's just like, you could tell, I'm not going to say you could tell if a coach is good based on their action, but just Michael Malone, you believe everything he does and says for his team. And when you see the emotions that a lot of the coaches go through, Michael Malone is the antithesis of that. I think that's the correct word I needed to use. So, long story short, congrats to the Denver Nuggets. You were the number 1 seed. I feel that it's very forgotten. So, I'm glad the Nuggets won. I'm watching MLB TV, right? MLB Network. The Phillies and the Diamondbacks in the 9th inning is 10-9. And they're trying to see if it was a home run. I was like, oh my God, this is groundbreaking news. I don't think it was a home run. Anyways, congrats to the Denver Nuggets. This season, I would love to say it is complete. But until October happens, we're going to have to keep referring to this season over and over again. As a Memphis Grizzlies fan, I would love for this season to be gone and in the rearview mirror. But obviously, because of the main problem we had this season, we had to keep talking about it. But it's like, I don't think this season's going to be done until October. Opening night, Nuggets get their rings, and we could just talk about the teams. Because like I said, free agent signings and trades that happen, if we're talking about, for example, if Gabe Vincent's to go to a new team, sign with a new team, we're going to be talking about what he did in these playoffs. So we're going to, again, I would love to say this season is done and in the rearview mirror, but more of the story, we're going to have to keep referring to it. So I will say several times in several videos, the season is done, but we're just going to have to keep talking about it. So that's how it is. Also, I'm not talking that much about the Miami Heat because my next video will more than likely be the grand finale of my 2023 NBA offseason wish list series, a series that I started at the end of the regular season. And a lot of the stuff in like the first video I made is outdated because I was saying I hope the Rockets can draft Scoot Henderson and the Pistons can draft Brandon Miller. I did hit the nail in the coffin because 99.99999 actually, 100% sure the San Antonio Spurs are going to draft Victor Wembanyama, which I predicted at the end of the regular season. So more than likely, unless some breaking news happens, my next video is going to be the grand finale of the 2023 NBA offseason wish list, which was originally titled things I'd like to see take place in the 2023 NBA offseason. But that was a long-ass title. So the more of the story is I'll be talking about the Nuggets and the Heat there, but mainly the Heat because the Nuggets won the championship. They don't need my recommendations. The Heat, I guess, don't need either. So, talking about this Phillies and Diamondbacks game. The Diamondbacks won the game 10-9. So I'm going to guess it was out because I don't know how because I'm confused. But they did say final. So breaking news here. Now, one more NBA topic to talk about. And then we're going to conclude with some wrestling talk. Chris Paul. Last week it was reported by several different people, several different things. The main and first topic was that the Phoenix Suns were going to waive Chris Paul. Then it was reported that the Suns are looking to trade Chris Paul. Then it was also reported Chris Paul is looking to stay with the Phoenix Suns. All I will say is Phoenix is a bit of a mess at the moment. Now, I don't want to harp on Kevin Durant because I love Kevin Durant, but you should have asked to come to Memphis, which, we don't have the best situation going on, but we don't have the worst situation going on. But when you look at it, I'm looking at it from the Kevin Durant, the team situation, not the Chris Paul situation yet. With Kevin Durant, I imagine he thought Monty Williams, someone who was an assistant coach for him, a former head coach, or not, a former coach of the year, I was trying to say, was going to be there in the long run. Literally gone after the playoffs. DeAndre Ayton, who has played well during his time in the league, but he is at a low point right now. Is it his lowest point? Probably not. Is it his highest point? Definitely not. Can he go back up? Yes. Can he go back down? Yes. We don't know what the hell to expect from DeAndre Ayton. I would more than likely expect him not to be on the team, but you don't even know. Chris Paul, who is, I don't want to call old, so I'm going to say it in a nicer way, is very experienced, and we don't know how much longer he's got left in the league. And again, I think the main reason that Kevin Durant came there was because of Devin Booker, his relationship with Devin Booker, because they played together in the Olympics. And Devin Booker has emerged as a great playoff performer, great player in this league. But it's just like when having two guys is not going to help you win a championship, especially if your team doesn't know what the hell they're doing and just has a lot of, again, it's rumored tension, and I'm mainly saying that towards Ayton. And again, the main person that it was rumored that Ayton had tension with was Monty Williams. We saw the videos on the sidelines where they're arguing and just very passionate arguments. But more of the story also, they gave up the Phoenix in this standpoint, gave up two of their main guys to get one guy who is an all-time great. So I can't really say much about that, but it's just, you get the point. It was very hard for them to win it all this year on such a short term because they only played 8 games with Kevin Durant. And the teams that they mainly played were mainly not playoff players. So you got to the playoffs, and guess what? Good news for you is you did lose to the eventual champions. But it's just like, if I was Kevin Durant, I'd be very upset and want to have a word. I asked specifically to come, specifically asked to come to this team, and you're just changing the team up completely. This is not what I wanted to see. So if I was Kevin Durant, I'd be a little bit upset, but I'm a little bit upset he didn't come to Memphis. Or asked to be traded to Memphis. But I don't think changing this team completely is going to help Phoenix. It might in a couple of years, but like right now, which is the most important time, is right now why you actually got these guys. It's just weird. Also, with waiving Chris Paul, I don't think clears that much cap space. I'm not a cap space expert, especially when you're paying the other 3 guys a lot of money in Ayton, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. You're already paying them a lot of money. So waiving Chris Paul, I don't even think that helps them cap space wise. It might a little bit, but I don't know completely. But like also, the main point that I was trying to get at is waiving him would actually be crazy. Because acting like Chris Paul is trash and not worth a roster spot is definitely crazy, considering he is a future Hall of Famer. And any team that he goes to, he's going to help. He's not going to hurt them. So the waiving Chris Paul part was surprising. And again, as of right now, He is still on the team. He has not officially been waived. It was just rumored. But if I was also Chris Paul, I'd feel a bit iffy about it, but I think the worst thing is knowing they don't want you. But guess what? As of right now, you're still here, and you know that in the long run, you can still offer them. I would just feel like at any moment, you can't trust anybody. That's the worst thing for Chris Paul, is you don't know what the hell is going to happen because it's not really in his control. The only way it would be in his control is if he gets waived. So he is very much in a win-win. It's either a win-win or lose-lose, because either he gets waived. I don't know. I think it's win. The main reason I'm saying I think it's win-win is either he gets waived and he chooses where the hell he gets to go to next, and more than likely, whatever team he goes to next, he's going to be starting for. If he comes off the bench, that's way better because he's more than likely going to be on a stacked team to compete for the championship, which I just don't think he's willing to like. I don't think he's going to want to come off the bench. I would imagine he wants to go to a team where he can start and be a contributing factor. So, again, this is all hypothetical. If Chris Paul was to get waived, the top 5 teams I'd like to see him join. And number 5, I don't really want to see him on this team, but I've seen so many people suggest it that's why they're at 5. I said the Boston Celtics. I would say they need him, but I don't know. The Celtics they don't need much. They just need to get their head out of their ass. They really pissed me off in the playoffs having to watch them play. As Charles Barkley would say, they were dumbasses. Next, the Chicago Bulls, who I would much rather them trade their veterans, mainly DeMar DeRozan, because Vucevic is a free agent. You could do a sign trade with Vucevic, then do it, and then build around LaVine, which at that point you wouldn't need Chris Paul. But more than likely, they're going to keep DeRozan and Vucevic, and I think that Chris Paul would be a great starting point guard for them. He fits their timeline a bit, especially because they don't know when Lonzo Ball is coming back. He just helps them a little bit and makes their team a bit more competent. Also, Billy Donovan, who is the coach of the Bulls, Billy Donovan coached Chris Paul for a season in OKC. So, if they don't trade DeRozan and they re-sign Vucevic and they can get Chris Paul for cheap, I'd like to see him in Chicago. Now, this one is going to be crazy, but I think I actually like this team a lot more than other people. The Washington Wizards. Because, again, they're in a very similar situation to the Chicago Bulls, except they're going to pay a lot more money to a bit lesser talent, because Kuzma and Porzingis are more than likely. With Porzingis, he's more than likely going to be a free agent. Same with Kuzma. They're going to fork up a lot of money. They're also already forking up a lot of money to Bradley Beal. So, if you can get, again, all of this is hypothetically, if you can get Chris Paul on a cheaper deal, I would really like to see him in Washington. Because, like, Casey, or Porzingis, I want to call him KCP, because his nickname's KP, but Porzingis, still a good center. I know they played him at power forward this season. They were experimenting on a lot of different things. And also, he's played power forward before in his career, obviously. But Porzingis at center, Kuzma at power forward, Denny Avdia at small forward, Bradley Beal at shooting guard, Chris Paul at starting point guard, Monte Morris off the bench, Johnny Davis off the bench, Daniel Gafford off the bench, whoever their draft pick is this year, Corey Kispert. Washington has a lot going on. They got a lot of money being spent as well. I just think that more than likely they're going to try to run it back with their, and again, big 3 again. And I think, again, he would help their team out a lot. I would probably put Chicago in front of them because at least Chicago's guys have been all-stars recently, where it's been a while since we've seen Washington's. Next, Milwaukee Bucks. You move Drew Holiday back to shooting guard. Paul, Holiday, Middleton, more than likely coming back. The main reason that he would go there, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the guy that kept him from winning a championship, and Brook Lopez. I'm not against it. But number 1, the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, New Orleans got a lot going on at the moment, mainly off-court stuff. Have him finish his career where his career started, and he fits in very well over there. The main issue would be if everybody could stay healthy. So, moral of the story, I think Chris Paul is going to be a contributing factor to any team that he's on next year. It's just a question of if and when he's going to be on Phoenix. If he's not going to be on Phoenix, when is the decision to move on from him announced? And how the hell is Phoenix going to replace him? Because I think that's going to be a lot more difficult. So that's the end of the basketball portion of this. Now, I'm going to run quickly through some wrestling topics. Money in the Bank and Forbidden Door coming up. That's the main. I'm not going to talk in depth about them. So, like as of this moment, Forbidden Door next Sunday, we have Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay for the U.S. Championship, a rematch from the Wrestle Kingdom match. I've already kind of talked in depth about it in my How I'd Book Forbidden Door video, and a dream match, crazy ass match. I wouldn't expect happening. Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada will be very interesting. Again, I'll talk more in depth about it whenever Forbidden Door comes up and I make my predictions video on it. With Money in the Bank, right now, we have 4 matches announced. We have Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor for the World Championship. I'd very much imagine that Seth Rollins is still World Champion. Also, Braun Breaker called him out. When or if are we going to see... That doesn't make any... If and when are we going to see the Seth Rollins-Braun Breaker match? Again, I'd fully imagine that Seth Rollins retains just because he's the first world champion. They'd more than likely want him to have a longer reign, but having championship matches against all kinds and all different people makes the most sense, and taking it anywhere and everywhere would make it a lot better, except for people who are going to be complaining about the draft not mattering if he was to show up on SmackDown and defend it there, which he technically did last week, but it was a dark match, so it doesn't count. So Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor, Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio. I fully imagine we're going to get Cody and Brock one last time at SummerSlam. So this is an interesting pit stop for Cody, and it's probably for the best that he was not in the Money in the Bank match. Even though, I think it's for the best that he's not in it, because he more than likely wasn't going to win it, and we get him more than likely getting a win over Dominic Mysterio. Now, Money in the Bank, the main reason that they have a Money in the Bank premium live event is for the Money in the Bank matches. So, as of right now, the men's Money in the Bank, representing SmackDown, LA Knight, Butch, and Santos Escobar. For Raw, Damian Priest, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Ricochet. I think everything points to LA Knight winning it. But who knows? For the women's, there's one spot to be determined, but it's probably going to be a Raw competitor because SmackDown has 3 and Raw only has 2. If I was to make a bold prediction, I think it'd be Raquel Rodriguez. I don't think they announced the If they announced the qualifying match tonight, I missed it because I was watching the finals game. But we have Becky Lynch and Zoe Stark also representing Raw. And SmackDown is Zelina Vega, Io Sky, and Bayley. I think the women's one, it could be anybody's. I suggested in my How I'd Book Money in the Bank video it be Io Sky, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was Bayley and we get more tension between Bayley and Io Sky. But I also wouldn't be shocked if it was Becky, because I think they would really want her back in the world title picture. But after the Trish Stratus stuff wraps up, don't know when we're going to see Trish Stratus back again. She's very much in that Brock Lesnar role. So, last topic. Water break. Almost choked on the water. Because I more than likely won't get a chance to talk about it until after it takes place. But the first episode of AEW Collision is this Saturday, June 17th. I am very excited. Saturdays are probably the best day of the week, some people would say. Now, adding a wrestling show weekly, 2 hours on a Saturday, is definitely getting questionable, especially because a lot of stuff happens on Saturdays. But AEW Collision's taking place. It's very weird for a show that has not taken place yet. I've talked about in 3 separate Shooting the Breeze videos, because I talked about it when it was announced. I talked about it last time because they announced CM Punk was competing. And now we have the very first main event announced, which is Samoa Joe, Jay White, and Juice Robinson versus CMFTR. Now, long story short, I'm going to be complaining about this. I don't like complaining about a lot of things, but I'm going to complain about it. this is just a little smart remark reaction, but everyone's like, yes, they're reuniting CMFTR. I hate the name CMFTR. There's no creativity out of it. It just doesn't make sense as a faction name. And I don't think they've actually fully called them that, but it is on a t-shirt. I'm not the biggest fan of that faction name. B, the main thing I'm complaining about is because it's still real to me. Damn it. They teamed once. And it's very forgotten because CM Punk got hurt prior to the match taking place. Almost their relationship is built on FTR talking, or I would say all three of them talking about each other. It's just from a TV perspective, this isn't if I was to watch AEW every week, that's the only thing I do. I would have to go back to last year to remember, hey, they teamed before, they're teaming again. It's just I think they should build on why they have a relationship instead of just having all three of them out there and it's just be because CM Punk's kind of always been built on, he's just either he has his group and they're his guys, and I guess in Serena's, because of Straight Edge Society, girls' perspective, but it's just this group, everybody's yes, they're reunited. It's just are we celebrating a reunion of something that happened once? I'm very bitter towards that. Thing number 3. I love Samoa Joe. I'm pushing for them to do Samoa Joe versus CM Punk 4 because I'm a big Ring of Honor fan, and obviously that trilogy is very important in Ring of Honor's history, and there's just a great story there because Punk never beat Joe. Last year when Punk won the championship, I was the first feud should be with Samoa Joe because the story's there. He never beat Joe. And then obviously a lot happened and we didn't get it then, and now it makes a little less sense and has a little less stakes. I hope we get this 4th match one-on-one before it's all said and done. That being said, again, and the reason I'm complaining is because I like Joe being on his own. Joe does not need anybody else. Why the hell is he in a 6-man tag? So, if it all leads to CM Punk versus Samoa Joe 4, I'll take all this back. But until then, I'm just ready for that match to take place. But I think the main reason that it's going to be a 6-man tag is hopefully they build on the CM Punk FTR relationship. They do some stuff with Bullet Club Gold, which I can complain about that, but that I've already complained enough. And that this leads to CM Punk versus Samoa Joe 4. That's the main thing that I want out of that. That being said, though, I will be watching Collision. Until they give me a reason not to watch, or there's something more interesting for me to do on a Saturday night, which sometimes that's going to be the case, but I do have a DVR, I'll be watching. So, that is it for this video. Shooting the Breeze number 8. I got a lot off my chest. Talked about the Denver Nuggets, a lot of it. Talked about some wrestling-related stuff. So, yeah. My next video, like I said, will be the grand finale of my 2023 NBA offseason wish list. ROH review this week as well. I'll be honest with you. The only thing I remember that's going to happen on this week's ROH is Samoa Joe versus Matt Sydal for the TV title. I feel there is another title match announced, but I don't remember. Oh, it was a proving ground match, so it's not. Wait. Might have been a title match. There's definitely going to be a lot more matches, obviously. It's not going to be a one-match card. So, after that, I don't know what video I'll do. It'll probably be wrestling-related because the NBA season is done. When we get some breaking news or stuff worth talking about, obviously I will talk about it. But more than likely, my next couple of videos will be wrestling-related after the off-season wish list. So, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.